Hi, Jamie Howell with Geringhoff here with H&R Agri-Power. I'd like to show you a few things about the Geringhoff cornhead and what makes us so special. Well, we'll start with our header height control. We use a very premium, the Horizon header height control. It has a lot of troubleshooting capabilities. It also has a very fast response time on your header height control and contouring through your fields. We move the power out through our drive lines. We always use water-shot drive lines. You have the ATP boxes where you transmits power out to the wings on all your folding heads. This is a critical point that we always want to make sure is square and even top and bottom. And we want to make sure that our clutch is engaging at 3 millimeters. If you ever have to realign that, the 3 millimeters is what you want the clutch to engage. We move the power out to the end. We drive the auger is driven by a gathering chain, or auger chain, in behind this drive line on the outside panels. 16 row heads and larger are always driven from both sides. You have a chain tensioner lever here. You have a hole here for spraying lube in to lube your chain during the season. The power comes into your crown gear on the outside, and this is how we control the speed of the head. It is a gear setting in here. There's a 37 stamped into the gearbox that tells us that it has a 37 crown tooth inside this gear. We run a 80-90 gear oil in the gearbox, a drive line that runs forward to a miter gearbox that turns the power 90 degrees into the first row unit gearbox. So then we'll talk about, here's your auger chain. This side panel has been opened up. You can look at this. So you have your tensioner that keeps the tension on the chain. We want about a 1/2 inch of deflection in the chain when it's proper tightness. This is the only slip clutch on our external slip clutch on our machine. It's in the drive clutch for the auger. There is a grease fitting on it, but please never ever put any grease in that fitting. It's meant for a failure. If the clutch was to fail, you could pump 25 to 30 shots of grease in it. It locks the clutch solid and allows you to continue harvest until you can get your new clutch, but your auger has no protection at that point. So we'll move back to the gearbox. As I said, this power goes into the first row unit, and then he drives his brother beside of him with a drive hub or a torque coupler. And so we have no steel bar that goes through all the gearboxes that connects them with power. We'll move around to the front of the head. So our Patriot is sold as our premium header. It comes standard with the inner augers. It comes standard with the 2 sprockets out front, open deck plate. Both deck plates open and close at the same time. So it gives you a very forgiving, drifting off the row, picking into a field to open the field up. It makes it very forgiving for those scenarios. And then the feeding with both deck plates open and closed has cut down on some of the shelling issues by keeping that more premium centered plant. Our gathering chains, there's no timing to my chains. There's a 9-lug chain, and they actually turn so fast. There's no timing to it, as I said. There's an automatic spring tensioner in this tube with the shallow drive sprocket on the back that you see. It's made to jump around. It's made for that to jump over the sprocket in the back and protect the gearbox from the top side. And then if anything reaches into the roller, T-post or any obstruction, it's an internal slip clutch in every gearbox that protects it from the rollers. There's our header height control sensors, and they can go backwards and forwards, so loading them on a trailer is no problem. Our latches for our bonnets, we use a very heavy center over latch. This row you can see we've gotten taken apart. So our machine comes apart in a component-based system. So with the chain tool that you see here, you latch over, remove the chain, 2 17-millimeter bolts. We remove the 2 bolts. The chain tensioner lifts up off the top. The deck plate pops up off its pivots rods, and you can clean out underneath this and spray it back with graphite so your deck plates operate the next year with trouble-free. It's just a really simple, easy way to come apart and very little maintenance. Whereas if someone was to leave this in the winter without cleaning it, the moisture and the dirt would cause it to rust together and stick and cause you some problems when you come back next fall. We do offer bear claws for our center augers. When you're buying a new machine, these come into what we call the goodie box. They are meant to bolt onto the center auger in adverse conditions, down corn, dry fluffy conditions. They bolt onto the center auger and they sweep the corn into the feeder house and help with that extra feeding that we need. We do offer some bigger half moons for the back of your polys. This allows you to, on the years that we have some bad shelling problems and the corn's coming off the cob, this allows you to place this in the back corners of the poly and cover this lug up from the trough of corn. So it helps cut down on some of that shelling. We do have the ability to raise our auger up and down, and it will go in and out if some wrapping has occurred. So we always want to make sure the auger is square in the back of the trough. There's a stripper knife along the back with the bolts in it. That keeps all the vines from trying to wrap on your hangers for folding heads or for wide heads. If we keep that knife tight adjusted, it keeps everything below the auger trough and moves it onto the feeder house and doesn't wrap on the hangers or on the center. The folding machines, I don't have a vision I can show you, but when the machines are folded up, there's 3 transitions of power for the auger, the gearboxes, and the transmission of power. Those need once a week or twice a week need grease smeared on their couplers. The next thing I'll show you is a couple of knife adjustments. So what we look for in a knife setting on a North Star in our world means knife on knife, opposing knife. So what we look for, you're about 10% down. We want about 1/2 millimeter on the back on the gearbox side and about 2 millimeters on the top on the end of the roller. This gives us a very aggressive knife setting and snaps the ear off about 6 to 8 inches onto the deck plate, where when these get out of adjustment or worn, the ear will come off more close to the back of the plate. And once you lose that straight edge, if it ever wears like an hourglass, that's time to replace the knife. We look for a good rule of thumb is 1,000 to 1,200 acres per row is about the life expectancy of our knives. So a very long. We have a hard treatment on that knife, so it does have a long life. Our gearboxes run a straight 80-90 gear oil. There is a slip clutch that runs inside of every gearbox with the precision through pass of our power and our row unit. We have a drain plug on the bottom. We have a dipstick on the top. And we always check our oil levels at level to the ground. So the top of this gearbox level to the ground. Same thing for the crown gearbox on the outside. And we take the dipstick out, we clean it, we just set it back in the hole, and there's 2 hash marks on it. We fill it to the top hash line. We always want to make sure the breather's clean. That can cause you some gearbox leakages if your breather gets backed up and starts to build pressure and push oil out. This is a good look at what your gearboxes, how the side of your gearboxes connect together with the couplers to drive each other. A little bit better look at the spring tension system upside down. And then we'll talk about the crown gear again. The crown gear, it too is level to the ground. This cast line level to the ground. This is your fill 2 plug, this is your fill plug and your drain plug on the bottom. And this is your miter box, it can be filled anywhere. It's dead center and your drain is on the bottom. And then this drive line in here, this is a once or twice a year grease that little drive line. It's not telescoping in and out and it doesn't pivot, so not a lot of maintenance needed on that. So our daily maintenance is only this little fitting on the end of each roller is 2 shots of grease a day. And what it's doing is just greasing a bushing that supports the end of this roller. We support the end of the roller to stop deflection. So what this grease does, it pushes any water or grit out of the end of this roller. And if you make that part of your morning maintenance, you put in 2 shots of grease in here, and you glance at your toolbar. If you don't see any oil seeping down, that oil is really thick. So if you get a leak, you automatically know it every morning. So if you know you don't have a leak, you don't have to open my boxes during the season. So that is one thing Geringhoff is designed into their heads. It's very low maintenance, very easy to maintain, and very easy to make adjustments and have a lot of adjustments built into their machines. Considering Geringhoff or having your Geringhoff head serviced We do offer a customer service hotline. Geringhoff hotline number is 888-721-1340. That is a phone number that we offer to all of our customers, all of our dealers. And you're in the heat of battle at 5 o'clock on a Saturday evening picking corn, you can call that number and someone will answer the phone and give you some advice on maybe if your head is acting up or you have a problem with a specific row. A lot of times they can give you some adjustments or things to look for and help you out in the heat of battle. So thank you. Have a good day.